Good morning everyone. I hope you all are doing good and keeping safe. I'm an MBA student from one of the top PG college and today I'll be doing a presentation on monopolistic competition. So let's get started. When we hear the word competition, the first thing that strikes our mind is like there are two parties or rivals competing among themselves to gain the attention of the third party or to sell their product. Whereas mono is referred to something that is single, just one, and we feel like there is absence of competition. But in business market, the things are little different when we combine the two terms competition and monopoly. Here we have a funny image. When we see something funny, we tend to understand the concept well. So I just selected this pic. So in general, monopolistic competition characterizes an industry in which many firms offer products or services that are similar but not perfect substitutes. So the question is, why would a market be defined as monopolistic? The term monopolistic refers to the industry, while it isn't a monopoly because there isn't a single firm. It is monopolistic because there are many producers that exist, make products that are not perfect substitutes for one another. And from the consumer's perspective, they can't go outside the industry to meet the needs. Their needs will drag them to the industry or market. Let's take an example of a soap industry. We can't manufacture soap for our personal use. We indeed depend on market to fulfill our needs. There are many brands of soap in the market, but depending upon its size, structure, essence, price, it varies. Here, marketing and advertising is the key to business success. As a comprehensive business plan, your marketing plan is essential. You will always have to face competition and you just can't afford to ignore it. People may not know what they want, but you have to focus on what they need. So depending upon the choice of the consumers, it varies. Here we have a definition of monopolistic competition. So it's basically referred as competition among large number of sellers producing close but not perfect substitutes for each other. It is a condition of industrial market in which a particular commodity of one seller creates an idea of difference from that of the other seller in the minds of the consumers. Likewise, restaurants and TV programs. Restaurants compete on the quality of food they serve as much as the price they cost. And here we have 6 characteristics of monopolistic competition that includes large number of firms, free entry and exit, some control over price, heavy expenditure on advertisement, product variation and product differentiation. So the final conclusion is, industry as a whole is like a monopoly that offers similar products but has many firms offering those products, resulting in monopolistic competition. Thank you, and now I'll be showing a short video regarding monopolistic competition and make things even more clear.
Monopolistic competition may sound like an oxymoron, since the term monopoly might suggest the absence of competition. But remember, in economics, everything exists on a continuum or a range with 2 extremes, one at each end. That's just what monopolistic competition is, an industry somewhere on the continuum between a pure monopoly, where a single firm holds all market power, and perfect competition, where many firms exist and each is a perfect substitute for the other. There are 4 conditions that must be met for monopolistic competition to exist. These conditions influence how producers and consumers interact and ultimately determine the behaviors of industry participants. The 4 conditions of a monopolistic competition that must exist. 1. There are many consumers and producers in the market, but no single producer has significantly more control than any other producer. 2. There are differences between the competitors' products, but not price differences. 3. The producers have some control over the price they charge. 4. There are low barriers to enter and exit the market. The first condition may seem counterintuitive. Why would a market defined as monopolistic be required to have many producers? Remember, the term monopolistic refers to the industry. While it isn't a monopoly because there isn't a single firm, it is monopolistic because the many producers that do exist make products that, while not perfect substitutes for one another, are close enough that from the consumer's perspective, they can't go outside the industry to meet their needs. Before we talk about the 4 conditions, it might be helpful to take this first condition and think of an example. What sort of industry do you think meets this first condition? What sort of goods or services can you think of where you might think, I want a blank, and could go to company A, B, or C to get it? Fill in the blank. Hamburger? New pair of shoes? Real estate agent? All are good examples of industries structured as monopolistic competition. Apply the first condition, the requirement for many producers. Doesn't that apply in each of those? How many different places could you get a hamburger, shoes, or a real estate agent? A lot. And while there may be subtle differences, the products are essentially the same. The second condition is that there is more than just price difference between the products. Again, go back to the hamburger example. You could go to one popular national chain and get a hamburger, or go to another and get a hamburger. You might pay slightly different prices, although likely not significant, and there will also be other differences in the burger. The products may both be hamburgers on a bun with some sides, but most of the time you can tell the difference, can't you? This is an important part of monopolistic competition because remember, the industry as a whole is like a monopoly that offers similar products, but has many firms offering those products. The third condition is that producers have the ability to set their own prices. That seems like an obvious statement, but remember, this is economics. Thus, we aren't saying that a hamburger joint can just set their price, but that they can set their price without significantly impacting demand. Of course, there are limits to doing that, but the general idea is that firms are price setters, not price takers. This is because, as an industry, there are no perfect substitutes. You could go get a salad or a chicken sandwich, but hamburgers are a specific good. Finally, the fourth condition is that there are low barriers to entry and exit. Of course, this low is relative. If you wanted to open a hamburger stand, it would cost a good chunk of change. But compare that to starting an airline or a car company. Relatively speaking, opening a hamburger stand and selling it, exiting the industry, has low costs. This condition is important because low barriers to entry are an essential part of having an industry with many producers. The lower the cost, the easier it is to enter an industry. In this lesson, the conditions and definition of monopolistic competition were introduced. A monopolistic competition is an industry somewhere on the continuum between a pure monopoly, where a single firm holds all market power, and perfect competition, where many firms exist and each is a perfect substitute for the other. As a market structure, monopolistic competition offers goods and services that do not have substitutes outside the industry. If you want a hamburger, you need to get it from the hamburger industry. If you want to buy a house, you need a real estate agent. The 4 conditions of an industry structured as monopolistic competition are as follows. 1. There are many consumers and producers in the market, but no single producer has significantly more control than any other producer. 2. There are differences between the competitors' products, but not price differences. 3. The producers have some control over the price they charge. 4. There are low barriers to enter and exit the market. When all of these conditions are met, monopolistic competition is present.